Hare Krishna, welcome back to our next episode. And today we move on from what we did last time. That was the first verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Today we see the second one, and we shed further light on what's happening on the battlefield. So the verse is as follows: Sanjay Vacha Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Yudham Duryodhanastada Acharyamupasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravit. Sanjay said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhan went to his teacher and spoke the following words. So here we see Dhritarashtra, a blind king. Now, in one sense, he's a very tragic personality. Since he was born blind, he could not become king. So then his son, uh, especially seen from a historical point of view, his brother's son, Yudhishthir, is senior in age. And according to those laws of primogeniture, the firstborn is entitled to the throne. And somehow Dhritarashtra could never ever give up that ambition. So I heard once somebody describe Dhritarashtra is one who has grasped the Rashtra or kingdom in his heart. And he keeps on seeing his son Duryodhan described as a very vile, evil character. But since he's doing things to further my ambition, I cannot give him up. And this is, as they call, double whammy. He is blind from birth and unfortunately also bereft of spiritual vision. So the first verse talked about Dharma Kshetra. He in fact feared. Guess what his fear was? That if my sons and sons of Pandu assemble for warfare, hey, maybe the location would unfairly favor the opposite party.
Correct.
So that means in his heart of hearts, he knows that my sons are not dharmic. The sons of my brother, they are actually dharmic. So this is the beginning point, that is very doubtful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage. And Sanjay is his secretary. Or again, for the benefit of those who may not know, how does this name Sanjay come in? He is a deputed officer on special duty. He is a disciple of Vyasdev, the great Mahamuni, the compiler of Vedic literature, who wrote down everything for our benefit, yours and mine. He is requested to be the assistant to Dhritarashtra. And it is explained that while staying in the palace of Dhritarashtra, through telepathic vision or through mystic power, he could understand what's happening, and thus he was able to relate what's happening on the battlefield. So, anything you would like to add about the blindness of Dhritarashtra been described here?
Kind of a question probably I would raise here, because sometimes people ask this. Many times, in fact, people ask, is it something that if I take to the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, would I lose on to my ambitions? Because we talk about Dhritarashtra, he was ambitious. And what's wrong being ambitious? When a young man graduates from his engineering degree, he has big dreams for himself. Maybe he's looking for doing a PhD from Harvard, MIT, become a big scientist, maybe a CEO of a company. What if a Dhritarashtra was actually had a legitimate right because he was born to the son, he was born to a king, born to a father who was a king, and apparently he was the eldest. But what if the destiny failed him? That's how people raise a question. So now if Dhritarashtra is kind of harboring a desire that what if I could not fulfill the dream because of whatever happened, I could not become the king, but at least my son. Of course, the means that he implemented and deployed were not the right means. And again, the Providence had its own say. His eldest son was not the eldest of the dynasty. Yudhishthira Maharaj became the eldest, as you just mentioned about it. So now, from that mindset, where he has become so super attached to the idea that if I couldn't do it, generally father son relationship, this happens. I've seen if a father is not able to achieve something, he sees himself in his son. He wants his son to achieve that. So now, coming from that background, he has become really, really kind of into it. And he's just like kind of a mafia don who's sitting somewhere across the border, has his puppet in the form of Duryodhan. While he acts very pleasantly with Krishna, Vyasa, Vidura, and Bhishma, and everyone. Oh, what can I do? He's my son. I cannot say no to him. If I say no to him, he'll die. For God's sake, you have 100 sons. एक चला गया तो क्या problem है? But still, he's so attached to it. So he's blind because he chose to be. He doesn't want to accept the reality, and he's using the destiny or the will of providence as an excuse for his actions, which he doesn't want to take responsibility. So unfortunately, he had become irresponsible, highly responsible, and that doesn't suit the position that he has, which deserve an highly responsible person. A person who doesn't care, either my son or a thief. If an act is immoral, deserve to be punished. So here Dhritarashtra is failing in his duty, and that's what his attachment has led to. So that's where we are in Bhagavad Gita, a conflict, war between two brothers. My take onto this.
Nice points. We promised our audience that we will tackle this issue of keeping a picture of the Mahabharata at home, and you related your own incident. So, uh, friends, do not worry. It is just a harmless kind of a nonsense superstition that keeping a picture of Arjuna and Krishna relating the Bhagavad Gita, it is anything but inauspicious. In fact, anything it would remove from your life, I can assure you it could be a tumor or some kind of a cancerous growth, but not the benign, not the good parts of your personality. So Krishna is the Jagat Guru, according to Shankaracharya, Krishna Mande Jagat Guru. Arjuna is his friend and devotee, Bhakto Sime Sakha Cheti, never envious of Krishna. So why would a byproduct of their coming together would bring forth inauspiciousness? So don't worry about that at all. In case, just to segue into what we were discussing, that Dhritarashtra's ambition, and as you and me, we meet many young folk and they say, is it wrong to harbor any ambition? Then what about people who had these ambitions? Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, and Jeff Bezos, they were kind of simple to mediocre people. They were not born with a silver spoon in their mouth. Look what they have become. Like, is it wrong to have? Certainly, it is not wrong to have ambitions. In fact, Arjun, when he said, I will do whatever you say, at a later point in the Mahabharata, he sees his own son very unfairly killed by six opposite warriors. If he didn't have any ambition, he would have just left the battlefield and gone and started begging. He didn't. In the Ramayana, Hanuman had one of the biggest ambitions to seek out Mother Sita, and he dealt such a severe blow to Ravan. So it is not like a person in possession of his full capacity, his full faculties, and is a perfect cooperator, like a working like a well-oiled machine on behalf of divinity, behalf of Krishna, doesn't have ambitions. He exactly knows what kind of ambitions to pursue, when to stop, when to go farther ahead. I mean, it's just like our commandos on the border fire and they fire, cease fire and they stop firing. If they don't do any of these, they could be court martialed.
Agreed.
So we don't say that don't have ambitions for $100 million startup or whatever. Let sky be your limit, but use the Bhagavad Gita to understand where this ambition will lead you to. Your ambition is your business, but to take you to the proper destination, that's our business, so to say. So we saw a little bit about the material and spiritual blindness of Dhritarashtra. Here is something about a lot of diplomacies going on in the background. Let me relate. Here, Sanjay is telling that seeing the whole army, now this is also a slightly historical point. The Pandavas had no network. They were practically like beggars in the forest. And 1 year they were hounded by the Kaurava army, Kaurava generals. They did everything to unmask them because they had to stay 1 year incognito. They were surprised how come they had such a large army. Although in numbers, that army was something like 1/3 of the Kaurava army. It was not that large at all. But even that many soldiers came was seen as a surprise element. So Duryodhan, the ever expert diplomat, he has now his diplomatic gears are in full action. Bhishmadev, a Kshatriya, is his commander in chief. Dronacharya, a Brahmana by birth, but his martial guru, they are, their chariots are next to each other. He is well aware if I go to the Kshatriya first, which is proper, a Brahmana might feel slighted. But if I go to a Brahmana first, the Kshatriya is not supposed to have that kind of inhibition. So therefore, we find here that he goes to his Brahmana teacher, and he has. It is not mentioned here, but he has fear. A little bit of fear has come in that I hope nothing untoward happens. I mean, I have these generals, I have my guru, and I have many others. Later, he will take on the names of so many. But as they say, when crunch time comes, you really feel that fear inside welling up. And that's what is happening in uh, old Duryodhana's mind right now. Uh, Anything to add, or you would like to take it further?
Just one or two things that kind of reminded of when I read Mahabharata.
Hmm.
He's kind of taken aback. He never expected Pandavas to amass such a huge army.
Yes.
That was a big shock for him. And he is kind of already was dealt with an early blow just a day prior to this whole setting of the scene when they came to the actual scene of the battlefield. A day prior to that, there was already a conflict between his own army men. Bhishma Pitama had actually kind of chastised Karna, saying,
Hmm.
Sutaputra. And Karna said, "Oh, all right, I'm not respected here anymore. I will not come onto the battlefield till the time Bhishma Pitama is standing on his feet." Oh my goodness, Duryodhana was shocked. And Karna walked away. So which means Karna, actually Duryodhana counted a lot on Karna. And Karna said, I will not come. So just before the battle began, things have happened where he was already put down. And now,
Yeah.
and now he comes to the battlefield, and to his utter shock, he sees a huge, huge army. As you said, Panda's a beggar. And Duryodhana had really played his diplomatic moves very nicely. What did Arjuna got? He got Krishna. What did Duryodhana got? He got the whole Narayani Sena. So he never, it was just like a whole miscalculated step. So that's what is happening here, as you rightly said. Duryodhana is in shock and is in fear. And he's like, oh, I need to be more diplomatic, need to fix a situation here. I don't want to lose anyone else. Can't have gone away. I hope if I say Bhishma Pitama is the commander in chief, Dronacharya should not get upset. I should not lose any more army, any more personnel. Looks like that's what is happening here. He is kind of fear stricken. Totally correct.
That was a very nice point. I just remembered that Bhishmadev has this boon of Ichha Maran. No one can kill him. And Karna saying that I won't join till this old man is there, that means he's actually wishing that something may happen and he may be removed. So, yeah, you're right. Duryodhana has gone through this kind of a gut wrenching feeling that, I wish I had my grandfather, my teacher, as well as my good friend. But looks like you can't have your cake and eat it too. You just have to make a lot of adjustments. In fact, the next verse we will see still more exhibition of Duryodhana's expertise in diplomacy. So, yes, we'll stop here for today.
I just want to make one point before we end for the audience here. In the very opening point he had about material blindness and spiritual blindness.
Yeah.
That's what we discussed. Two things: material and spiritual blindness, and the diplomacy of Duryodhan. What was the end result of Duryodhan? He was ambitious, fine, but what he got? He got nothing. He lost all his sons, he lost all his wealth, he lost his reputation, he lost everything. He lost his respect also. Even Gandhari didn't respect him for that. So, being materially blind is okay. You don't have eyes and all that. Being spiritually blind is the problem. As Shyamananda was making a point, being ambitious, nothing wrong about it. But if you don't have the right direction, that's what we are here for, trying to give you the right direction. If you don't have the right direction, then what's the point being ambitious if you're ambitious like the Dhritarashtra for that reason, the Duryodhan, where you end up getting nothing. But what about if you lost everything like Pandavas, but at the end of the day, you gained everything? That's what spiritual knowledge does. That's what Bhagavad Gita's message for all of us. That's just wanted to add over here. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. See you later.